Namaste and a very warm welcome to you. We are back again with our deep, insightful conversations with people who commit to themselves and take on a journey. We often, I've heard of an analogy which once said that a, a surfer who surfs on the waves of an ocean, and then there is a person who goes deeper into the depths of the ocean to find the jewels. There is excitement on the surface, but the deep truths come out from the depths. So today we have Richa with us. Richa is um, a dear friend. We started as somebody, she'd arrived into our space as somebody who was seeking something really deep. It started from past life regression, it went on to neuro linguistic programming, but she is somebody who we realized as one person who takes on to something and just takes it further into the deeper depths, like I said, of the ocean. A very warm welcome to you, Richa, into this space. And
Thank you.
thank you for arriving in our lives. Mm.
Big statement. I should be thanking you.
We'd like to know from you a little about yourself. I feel the best person to introduce herself or himself is the self. So help us a little about you, where you come from, and what were you doing before we met or job we met.
Thank you, Nidhi, for giving this opportunity. Um, Actually, I never thought of an intro of myself. How silly. But I belong to Lucknow, and I have been a corporate person throughout my life. So overall, 22 years of experience, very ambitious, like a typical corporate person, just working, 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 that kind of life, happy family life, corporate, ambitious, resentful, of
Yes.
course, because I still have to find very, I mean, I have come across few people, working people who are really happy with their job. Sorry to say I was not, but, and that's the reason I left. That then started my own consulting thing. Um, so for me, life had been decent until and unless until till the time I met you guys, when I realized, oh my God, how much of baggage I was carrying, how much of resentment I was carrying. Before that, I was fine. To anybody whom I come across, I was a strong-headed, happy-go-lucky person, that kind of person. Inside, of course, there were a lot of turmoil, but what happens, that when you are just running in your life, you just put a lot of things under the rug
Yeah.
and you don't realize. So I'm fortunate that it was not too late when our paths crossed, and that's when I realized, oh my God, uh, there are so many things that I need to work upon, and while the God had been kind to me, that despite of all of that I was carrying, the burden that I was carrying, I would right now say that still fairly decent life, happy life that I had. But so last 4 years, I think during COVID time, we met, and when I got into this space of NLP and past life regressions, and all of these things were so much against my belief system. So much against my belief system. I am someone who does not even do idol worship. I am someone who never believed the concept of a idol called God. I mean, I won't call myself an atheist. No, there was a power I would you know, go down to that power, and I still call that universe. But from there, now talking about energies, now talking about births and karma and past lives, huge shift last 4 years I had. Uh, for NLP, I would say like I had been a person who worked a lot with who would pull herself up all the time because since my childhood I had been into, I had depression kind of thing, which I myself never knew. So I had really tough phase, tough childhood, etc. and all. So I would pull myself up.
Mm.
So I've done that throughout my life.
Mm.
But of course, there was a time when nothing was working.
Right.
And when, you also realize that you need help. And that's when I thought, to go seek out external help. But when I was introduced to NLP, again, the help was within me.
Mm.
So I'm so glad that I didn't need to go out to someone and someone telling me that what I need to do, etc. Through this, it empowered me, and now this is such a lifelong process. There's so many things day to day in my day to day life. There's so many techniques that I keep on. It just comes because it's just there in my mind now. It's inbuilt. You call muscle memory. It has become like that. So many things.
True.
So so yeah, right now, if I have to introduce myself, I would rather say I'm a much balanced person now
So nice.
and a much calmer person.
So you are removing the tags or you're removing the designations from your introduction
Yeah,
now. You are a
yeah.
balanced person. So when you say you're a balanced person, I want to take you a little back to before the balance. The pain, the you said depression and it was not handleable or you were not finding some answers. You were pulling yourself. Isn't that what everybody does? But there are sometimes a lot of times when you need external help. When you realized that you needed external help, what was the pain going on at that time?
A lot of things. See, I mean, I can talk about myself that there were a lot of things that I was carrying. And what happens, everything gets jumbled up when you do not resolve, when you do not talk to people.
How does it appear in your, sorry to cut you short,
Yeah,
how does
yeah.
it appear when you say jumbled up? You are realizing it's jumbled up. Where, in what areas do you experience this what is called jumbled up experience of yours or personality of yours?
Everywhere. So my family life was getting really, messed up.
Mm.
I've got a very supporting, loving husband, but there's a point till what point you will keep on
Ignoring.
giving your burden to someone else.
Right.
People also have their life, so you have to stop at a point and then keep things to yourself.
Mm.
While the other person is willing, no doubt about it. So the emotions, and then I started to experience some physical issues, like physical pain also. I never used to. I'm a fairly active person. But then there was a time when I would experience back pain for no reason. Suddenly, my back will just freeze. And again, that was a time when I never knew such a strong body mind connection that, it can impact your thoughts, can impact your body. And I'd been struggling later on when I understood about all of these things. Last 4 years, my pain is gone. There may be other reasons as well. No medical treatment I took.
Right.
Past life and NLP, just working on my thoughts, the pain is not there.
Right.
So it started affecting my health. It's it made me suicidal. It made it started impacting my parenting. See, if
Mm.
I am not as a parent, so parents are supposed to be, there's this image, we need to be calm, we need to be emotionally controlled. But ultimately, if I am also carrying a baggage, then it has to be passed on somewhere. And I realize unconsciously, subconsciously, whatever I was passing it on to my child.
Mm.
I mean, again, I keep on saying I do not regret because whatever happened, happened. At least I realized it was not too late. So then I worked on it. So I mean, almost all my aspects. I would rather say even my corporate life, if you remember, first time when I did NLP, and there was this exercise that I did of perceptual positioning.
Mm.
And my first thought was because there was something I was carrying from my corporate life, one of the companies, and one of the experience I was carrying for so many years. And for me, that particular person was a villain. For
Mm.
so many years, I was carrying that. And when I did that, I was like, oh my God, it completely changed my perception. So
Right.
imagine if I was introduced as a professional to such a strong technique like NLP, I would have been a much better
More
professional,
intentional.
much,
Mm.
much better leader, I would say, there in the corporate world. So I think every aspect of mine was getting messed up.
Very nice. So when you came into the space of NLP, and when you realized, like you said, there was you did not even know that there was such a strong body mind connect, and the dis-ease, as I normally end up putting it, the dis-ease of the mind translates into the disease of the body. What was your initial reaction when you came into a space like this, where we were speaking about working on things here and cleansing the space here? We speak of decluttering, and it's so casually said, declutter yourself. But what was your initial reaction when, of course, you mentioned about the perceptual that exercise that we did? Your initial reaction, your first couple of days into the space.
You have to see my video for those. Most of the time my mouth was, and my expression most of the time was like this only, because everything that was run, it was new, but it was resonating.
Yes.
So a lot of things, like I keep on initially, I still keep on saying ki we get a lot of gyan. Thanks to WhatsApp, it's overdose of motivational quotes, it's overdose of self, work kind of quotes, etc. So gyan ki kami nahi hai. But it is just that, and people know. It's not that people don't know. So, for example, when I'm saying I was suicidal, wasn't I aware that okay, this is wrong? Of course, I was aware. I was aware when I would just burst into my violent streak. Of course, I was aware that this is wrong. What
Mm,
people need is how to handle these things,
right.
and they really do not. So, one is of course an external someone telling you, someone guiding you, like a therapist kind of thing. Of course, that is there, but better would be if they are empowered with some practical techniques that they can actually use at in that point of time. So my initial reactions were, how am I not aware of these things till now? I should have been knowing. And I kept on saying, oh, I'm a little late, but it's okay, it's never too late, kind of thing.
And then when you went through that entire series of process, so many times we come to spaces like this. There is a workshop that is conducted. There are 5 days of aha moments and the epiphanies and the promises that we make to ourselves and the resolves. What did you do once you stepped out of the workspace,
See, I have done, I think,
workshop
two
space?
times. Yeah, two times basics and two times masters. Plus, apart from that, some multiple workshops with you guys. Because first time when I did, part of my things were resolved. I would not say, because my whole objective, and every time that barring maybe glass masters, but most of the time my objective was self work. Because till the time I am not resolving every little knot within me, I cannot go and guide anyone else. That would be very theoretical, and I would say artificial. It would not be. So my objective had always been this only. So first time when I came, a part of it was resolved, but that was resolved there. I
Mm,
also had to see if how effective it is, how long lasting the effect would be, how
mm,
much work, repeated work I need to do, because nothing is like a magic wand. That
mm,
okay, fine,
yes.
someone. It's not like a magic, no. That you did some technique and or I did something with myself and it's gone. No, it does not happen. So then I realized I need to keep on working with it. I need to reinforce those things. Some I was able to do it myself. Some we had this lovely group. Every workshop I meet some wonderful people. We worked with them. And then I realized, okay, fine. Now it's a time, next time, I need to refresh. So every time that I came to you, it was something new that I was discovering about myself, something new that I was detangling in myself. And then, of course, gradually, then I came to a point that I realized that, okay, fine, now I can offer some assistance to others,
Nice.
who are struggling with little small things they don't realize, and they are still not in that, uh, mental space to go attend such workshop. Because I'm a huge advocate of this. I keep on telling to people, but even if not, friends, family, then, I also got into the social emotional learning space, because that is one thing I realized. Oh my God, I keep on telling you again, please start something for teenagers, for
Mm,
children, because children need so much. Because See, it starts from there only, no? If
Absolutely.
things can be resolved, if people, if children, as a child, I know how to assess, how to acknowledge and manage my emotion, I can. Language, my behavior, everything that NLP teaches. You know, if as a child only I get to know these things, आगे जाके, you know, I would not have those kind of problems. So yeah, the journey had been from self work to now. I know that yeah, I am capable of helping, and I have. You know, there are people in my friends' family. I'm glad that I'm able to empower them in their in their difficult times.
You've been a banker, and your trajectory has completely changed into um, a different direction altogether, into an entrepreneur. You have been into a consulting mode in between. How do you say that this transformative journey that you undertook, how did that assist you towards taking this direction? Did you always think that you will be getting into something like this for your own self, or were you did you have it in mind and yet you were not taking steps towards that? So what was happening on the career side of it?
The entrepreneurial thing was never in my card. Okay. Um, I was always very clear that after my corporate stint, and I was very happy with the SEL role that I was playing, and I am still. So it was not there in my card. It just suddenly came. But
Mm,
I would also tell you, Nidhi, that what happened is once in last these 4 years, things that have changed with me is I know that I used to be a very uptight person, you know,
yes.
at least externally, or you know, in front of people. I was, and there were two Richards, because there was one very defensive one who would just hide, you know, who would put up a stern, strong face so that the vulnerable one does not get affected. So that was one thing that I was carrying throughout my life. No one knew how vulnerable I was while I was.
Did
But
you?
once, sorry,
Did you know how vulnerable you were?
yeah, I was. That's why I used to put up that kind of face.
Mm.
I knew that I can be hurt very easily. But in last 4 years, when I worked with myself, when all the detangling, etc., happened, then I started flowing. Like then, whatever was coming, I was not blocking myself for with new ideas for whatever opportunities were coming. Initially, I was not that open earlier. I was not that open because I had a certain thing in mind. I was very clear about my career goals always. I was very clear about where I want to. Nothing wrong. But then sometimes what happens when you are too clear, even if the opportunity is coming, you may block. I was doing at least that.
Mm.
So when this whole entrepreneurial thing came, and that was with me and my husband and my partner in crime. So I took it, but it took me some time to accept it because again that was not part of my goal plan
Plan.
that time. But at the same time, I accepted it because I was not that you know, I was not blocking. I was open for it. Then I realized, and again I went to basics of NLP. You know, initial few months, what happened? My language was blocking the acceptance. The way I was talking about it, you know, it's his thing or I'm just managing kind of thing, etc. Then I said, until and unless I make it mine, this
Yeah.
place will not be mine and it will not give me that kind of joy, happiness, and success that it is supposed to give me because ultimately I am the owner of that. So I started working on my language. I then reprogrammed, you know, a certain behavior. So actually I worked, I used a lot of those NLP things there. I used to question myself, you know, so why I'm feeling what, etc., how and all that. So those meta questioning, I used a lot there to come into that space of total acceptance of this that I am.
Mm.
So, you know, in banking, sitting in that AC office, having a team of 10 people, and then being in a store, having a startup that, of course, you plan to expand, but then working on every little thing, that was not my plan. But now it has become a plan, and I'm so glad about it. Every little detail is now there, written, and I know it's going to, because and I keep check. So whenever I'm talking to even Vikalp, my husband, so we keep a check a lot on our language,
So nice.
what we are speaking and how we are speaking, and we keep on rephrasing. Okay, fine, sorry, this is not me. So because sometimes it happens, no, things are not going well, and then you get into that low state of mind, low vibration, and then say, no, 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 no. Language. Let us change that.
What is your, now you're mentioning language. What do you think is the importance of language? I mean, we do communicate in language. What have you brought in as a shift in your language? And why language?
So when I started NLP, so in fact, before going for NLP, I never knew what it is.
Right.
I just heard that term in one of the workshops, past life workshops, where out of 10 people, eight did NLP, and there were two, me and there was one other girl who did not know. Everyone was talking about NLP, and I was like, what it is. Being an instinctive person, I knew this is something that is there, and I was that time in that exploratory mode, because anything that can help me become better, and so I said, okay, fine, let's go for it. And before that, I just Googled the meaning of NLP, because whatever you guys told initially,
It
I
didn't
did not
make sense.
understand anything. What it is, neuro linguistic programming, okay, fine, what it is. Then you Google, and then Google whatever it gives you. Did not understand. What I thought was, okay, fine, it is something to do with, a better way of communication it will teach you. So, of course, that is one. But it does not only teach you external dialogues, it is also a lot with internal language.
True.
So, the linguistic part of it is so important, because, of course, I started check on, because one thing is definitely that I become much more aware of what I speak,
Amazing.
how I speak, what my thoughts are. So
Mm.
that is there, that is external. Being a marketer, I was aware of all of that, I was, but sometimes, in your personal space, you take things for granted, and then you are just you. Because always writing such formal communication as your role, you get tired of being nice. So then you let go of it, and then you don't realize that. Then realize it is just so important, because it is impacting just not your relationship, but what you are saying also impacts the outcome and how you are saying. But the second and most important part was the self-talk. What I'm talking within myself. And that is, I think, most of the people do not pay that attention, because they feel वो कौन सुन रहा है? आप अंदर से whatever you are speaking, but externally, if अंदर से you are just talking all, I'm sorry, shit, or negative talks, but outside you are being nice, you are being sweet, you are talking all positive. Is it going to give you that kind of outcome? No, it is not. And that's where I realized that gap is there, because internally I was not a very positive person, while I would come across as a very positive person. When I'm talking about positive in the terms of depressed, while I would come across as a very lively person, etc. But some people could see through. There was something disconnect. So I worked a lot on my self-talk. So language for me more than externally. If
Mm.
internally you are sorted, then
Mm.
it will reflect externally.
Mm.
So this is what worked for me at least.
Mm. Now, there is a thought which I often observe is you've spent a lot of time in your education and you've become thorough with one aspect of life, which is your career aspect, and you're doing relatively well over there. Is it fair to expect all areas of your life to be absolutely sorted because you're sorted in your career side? Or do you think it is important to work uh, with respect to all of these areas with the self, to make sure that things are, we've never given that a thought. Did you ever think how to be a mother, or how much time did you spend in your growing up years as to the kind of things that a mother needs to do with a child, or the kind of relationship, once you are married then you will be into? Was that a part of your active growing up? You may have observed people, but while you were aligned to the fact that you will study and you will do your MBAs and etc. and get into that line, very much oriented towards the career side, how much was the focus on this softer part of life?
There was no focus. I was always very academically oriented. I was a good student. Um, I was very clear about my career path since grade 11, and I achieved exactly whatever steps I thought, okay, fine, I will do MBA, then I would do job, then I would do entrepreneur thing was there, but during the job it went. But I guess that's what it was there in my original plan. And I guess since the plan was there,
Hmm.
it came into place now.
Hmm.
But no, the softer part was not there, in terms of family, because even marriage was not in my cards. So when marriage happened, then having a child was not in my card. So all of this happened. But having said that, when my child came, then I was very clear about the kind of parenting I wanted to give him, the kind of environment I had to give him. Because there were certain things that triggered me in my childhood. There were certain things that happened, um, of course, unintentionally, because every parent wants best for their kids. But and there was certain kind of we understand, parenting of that time. So I was very clear about the kind of parenting I have to give. So the kind of person I am, either I do not get into things, but once I get into things, then I own it up completely.
Hmm.
So once I became a wife, a mother, then I owned up that role. Okay, fine. This is how I have to support my husband. This is how, as a mother, I have to. I'm not saying that I succeeded in it. Maybe not, because it depends on how they view it. So it is their thing. As per me, I did my best. So and when I did NLP, again, there were certain aspects of, especially parenting, because my child was young that time.
Right.
That gave me insight that, okay, fine, as per me, I'm doing my best, but then I never viewed it from his eyes. And there were certain exercises when we did. And so I changed my behavior, my techniques, or style uh, for certain things with him.
Hmm. No, my point of
So,
asking this question also was that these are the areas we just are thrown into, or we jump into, and we learn on the go. And in learning on the go, if there is, if at all there was this aspect or chance that we work with communication, since you laid so much importance on language, not just externally what we say but internally also, when the child is younger, what all to say and how to say and what not to say, because they're like sponges at that time. They're just absorbing everything as is. It's unfiltered for them. They will not think that this is what my parents would have meant or this is what my mother means. It just comes as directly as a label on them, which grows into them into their adulthood and adult life. And like you said, there were certain things
yeah,
which unconsciously
yeah,
happened when you were
yeah,
younger. It's not the intention of the parents, that's not being questioned. But my only thing is that if we were to focus on this side of life also, that on the communication, not just how on how fluently we speak or how vast our vocabulary is, but how to say, what to say, when to say, when we are able to gauge it.
yeah.
Does that make sense, or did that have any positive effect in your multiple facets of relationships that, or?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And immensely, immensely. Even now, also, when I'm talking to my team, words are measured. They are not guided by emotions. So again, one of a very powerful technique that I use like multiple times during the day is disassociation and sometimes double disassociation when things are not getting resolved. I use it so much. So now when I'm talking, my I try my best. I would not say that always it happens, but words are usually measured. They are about that particular point. They're not guided by emotion, and they are about those situations,
Right.
not what happened in the past, what would happen in the future, kind of thing. So communication is just not in personal space, in professional space, in social space. I mean, my friends have acknowledged. I I was always a huge butt of joke for everyone because the impulsive and the kind of behavior I would be. And, sometimes when you are trying to show that you are, happy-go-lucky person, then you become, jolly good fellow kind of person. So, but now they see much calmer person
Nice.
in me. And most of them have acknowledged that, oh, Richa has changed a lot. So even when I'm talking to them, the language has also changed because it is no more self-demeaning, I would say. Earlier a lot of times when you try to be, because this, I mean, it may be abstract, but sometimes, when you're talking to people, before anyone else makes you a joke, you make joke of yourself. I
Hmm.
was that kind of a person.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then people think that, okay, fine, it's cool. No, because if I'm making, and then you can laugh on yourself. It's best to laugh on yourself than others.
No, we short sell ourselves. We question our own um, abilities and credibility, etc. And then uh,
Yeah, I used to do that a lot of short selling of myself. While I, I mean, if I be honest, I feel I'm much more talented, and it's not being arrogant. It's about being realistic.
absolutely.
That when I see people and I analyze, I'm much more talented. I am much more sensible than people around me. But I always used to short sell myself. I would joke on myself before someone else would do because that's how I grew up. That's the feeling I had always grown up with, that, oh, she's like this only. She's goofy. She's, she can't handle things well. Because, and like you mentioned that point, because I was just so much into academics and career oriented. Of course, I was not good in certain aspect of, for example, I was not good in household chores. So
Mm,
that made me goofy. That made me, she's not someone to be taken seriously in family.
mm,
That feeling went into school because in school, okay, fine, I was great in academics, I was great in co-curriculars, but then I had that feeling I am not good looking as my friends. So from there, I carried that feeling, oh, I'm not complete. So always I had this feeling I am not that complete, good enough person. When I went to corporate world, I was hardworking, I was intelligent, I had degrees, everything is there. But then I had this fear of public speaking. So that made me not a complete professional because as a leader, you need to be a good speaker. Even when I was doing my MBA, again, much more talented, came with good marks, everything was there. I used to do projects, manage my projects, my studies, everything. Everything was great. But I was not as smart as the other girls there. I did not have that kind of fashion sense. I did not have that kind of smartness, I would say. So throughout my life, and then I became a wife. Okay, fine. I'm a great partner, which I feel my husband is really fortunate. He found me. But I I am not, I was not, now I can. But I was not that great in household chores again. I was not fond of cooking. I was working, I was good in certain aspects, but not good in this aspect. So, but again, it made me not a complete, a
mm,
whole partner, wife kind of thing. So throughout my life, I had this thing, I'm not complete. I'm not whole. And I carried that. And that's what happens that when you're talking to people, it somewhere reflects. So
Mhm.
they may not say it on your face. So while of course I'm a person who would just take on, I'm not scared of anything. I was never scared of, I am not scared of anything that I can say, except of course losing my really close dear ones. But still, it reflects in your conversation when you're talking to people that, okay, fine, you lack confidence somewhere. So then you start short selling yourself, you start making joke of yourself before someone else does. Because you know what happens, no, आप खुद का तो ले सकते हो, but दूसरों से नहीं ले सकते हो. That became a norm. Then my friends would also joke and they will tease like I would find that okay because I was getting attention. Something that I lacked throughout my childhood in school, my family, because my sisters were getting more attention. So I used to like that, okay, fine. Even if they were, it was at my expense, but I'm okay. I was okay with that. But after a point, you start realizing it hurts.
Yes.
So during these 3 4 years when I worked with myself, when I opened all of these things, when the repatterning happened, when reprogramming happened, and when I realized what all my strengths are, what all my qualities are, and where these triggers were coming, worked on all of that, ironed that out of my life. I'm much more self-sufficient, confident person. I'm not great. I never was. I intend to maybe, but right now I'm very confident of myself, what I'm internally and externally. So, like again, I cannot be thankful enough to you guys and to NLB for a lot of things.
I agree with that. I agree, and I second you on the fact that when we found NLP, how much transformation has happened just by the realization that anything that we are saying or thinking is through a sense of repetition that's going on inside is settling inside as a belief system. So we are on a constant check. So I quite resonate with what you said in terms of um, getting inside and working on that space. And I truly believe deep diving and going further and further inside, because each time when you experience it again and again, there is some delayering that happens because you are at a different stage of your evolution with this process.
Correct.
Very nice.
Yeah, that I realize that it's a lifelong process. So anyone who thinks that after doing once or twice they have resolved everything, maybe temporary, yes, but we need to keep on, keep on checking.
Hmm.
Okay, fine. Where are we? Do we need it again? Do we need to revise some concepts? It may not be complete, but maybe some concepts. Do we? Is there any part of my personality that or my behavior that needs repatterning, or I need to change? Is there shift required? So all of that reflection um, is continuous,
Very
like
true.
day to day kind of thing. It's not that we will take out a time once a week. I will sit, I will reflect. I mean, at least it does not work with me. It is a continuous process with me.
Hmm. So what would you say to somebody who is, you know, on that testing waters kind of stage, whether to do or not to do? Should somebody be investing like this in self?
I would just say go for it. There is nothing to lose. The only thing what would happen is you will discover yourself.
Yeah.
And that is like 1,000 to 1,000,000% guarantee. And even if, for example, someone is really blocked, it can happen, because of whatever state of mind someone comes from, it may happen. So even if you do not, you feel that, oh, it did not help you much, maybe not that time. But I would say just keep yourself open. Something may, you might have carried subconsciously, it may reflect somewhere. And in any case, there's nothing to lose. Because if you are in So see, there are two, three stages when people would go for such a thing. So one, they are really in their deepest, lowest point that they would think, okay, fine, they need help and they need to do. So for them, I would say there is nothing to lose in any case. You have already lost your sanity by and nothing else is helping. So go for it. Before trusting someone else, an external, a psychologist or a psychiatrist for something, for example, so before trusting a stranger, at least trust yourself and work with you. Second scenario can be someone who's just curious, who wants to understand what it is. Again, for them, when you get into a workshop like this, you would learn something new. In any case, you have that curiosity. Why not to explore here? And I'm sure you're going to carry back few things. Third scenario can be people who have already, are aware of certain things and they are planning it to take it professionally. So, of course, I would say, who better mentor than Manisha and Nidhi who can help you in this thing. So, rather go for it. So, anybody who is even thinking about it, they should.
The most question that sometimes what I'm saying, the one question that sometimes stops people from stepping into an area like this is often I've heard is people would say it's expensive. um, you've done it multiple times, so how does this word expensive sound to you?
So, when people say expensive, it's a very relative term. It may be something which may be expensive for me, may not be expensive for someone else, of course. But then again, people have to say what is the cost. But I come from banking, so I always see cost benefit
Yeah.
analysis.
Mm.
So if I'm putting in my money in this thing, what am I getting? And
Mm.
again, I keep on saying when it comes to your, because this is one aspect where people spend least. And I would not say because they do not want to spend, because a lot of times it happens, they have certain responsibilities and the money gets divided there.
Right.
I mean, I would be very truthful. First time when I came, of course, I really needed it. There was no choice for me.
Right.
Second time when I came, I gave it a second thought.
Mm.
Should I be spending again on myself? I've already done it. This money can be used for my kids, what's this and that. But then I told to myself,
Mm.
I need it more right now for myself. If I will be fine, if I will be clear, XYZ things, then everyone else can be taken care of.
Wonderful.
So sometimes people need to be selfish. It is not that expensive that you cannot take out that kind of money. Of course, it is not in lakhs or something. But when you think about the kind of benefit it will give you lifelong, it is it is worth every penny. So that thing should not. I mean, I would not say should not, but that can be handled. That can be handled with if people become a little selfish, go with little planning. In case of if people have a limited budget, go with a little bit of planning. So it's worth every penny.
You're using the word selfish. I sometimes think to myself, this ish that we add with a word makes us very stylish, or when we think about style and we say stylish, so when you're actually focusing on self, you are slightly selfish. It's in a good way that you are, because a lot of times we are taught how to be selfless. In that word, the self is always less, and it you don't know whether it has when it has completely gotten depleted. So the ish word, when you replace the self, the less with the ish, it starts to aid you to focus inward or for you or on yourself, and then that's what you just said, makes you a better person here, better person here, a better person here, better person here.
Yeah, because until and unless you are at peace, sorted here, how can your environment be?
Right.
and we all affect each other's energy.
Indeed.
So, and as a person, I have never shied myself to be selfish throughout, because I always knew, and this is something that I really want to tell to everybody. It is only you who can take care of yourself. No one else is going to. So if you are not thinking about yourself, how do you expect others to think about you?
True.
So first, at least put yourself first. And here I am not saying that, don't care about. When I always say, when I'm selfish, it is not hurting anyone. It is not demeaning anyone. It is not that I'm running over anyone. It is just that I'm thinking about myself here first, without hurting, without any unscrupulous means. I'm just putting myself first. Simple.
Oh, wonderful. So wonderful. On that note, to encourage you to put yourself first, to encourage you to think about what you stand to gain rather than where you stand to, what all you stand to lose. Think about the direction that you wish to take. And hearing it from Richa, who has moved careers and is now an entrepreneur, and the kind of business that she's running is beautiful. I'm going to put in the why don't you just tell us a little about what business you're doing rather than me just putting it in the description box for everybody to read and
It makes me smile.
check?
So right now we're running a pet salon. Um, Pet salon come a gift shop for pet lovers. It's a beautiful boutique store in Gurgaon, and I love to be there. So that's the reason when I was telling that, initially I was not able to accept, and I used to question myself that whenever I go there, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Seeing those furry babies, those dogs, cats, and their goofiness and whatever they do, it makes me happy. But still, why I'm not able to? So that question was there, and that's what motivated me to then, get into. So the venture is, of course, the passion and dream of my husband, but now completely adopted by me. And here I would also like to just add in, and I was a person until 10 years. I was petrified of dogs. Dogs have bitten me thrice. I would jump. Even when my first dog came in my life, till first year, even if he would come near me, I would start jumping. That was the kind of fear I had. But gradually through the years, and then till then, I was only okay with my dogs. So we had cafe canine. Okay, fine. They used to play with dogs, but never like hugging. But once you are there with them, see, you made me talk about this thing, and I can keep on talking about dogs. So yeah, but it's a wonderful place. So anybody who is in Gurgaon, please walk in, even if you don't have a dog. So just come for the lot of positivity and
Very nice. So
happiness.
this is that person who thought that she would always have that career where she would be sitting in a corporate office. She wanted to be an entrepreneur, but then that was put outside of her plan. And then it was her husband's idea. So she thought, why should I be aligned to that, or what is it? However, when she deep dived inside and worked on herself or with herself, the kind of shift that came out is where she's the one who's leading the business, and her husband continues to work in the corporate, and they are s- in a very unique blend of the corporate income or the corporate side of the family and an entrepreneurial sides of the family. This is something which is going to start becoming big very soon, but it is becoming big only when a person begins to trust herself. Imagine if whatever, from whatever you've heard, if it was the same Richa that we started the conversation with when she was talking about herself, would she be doing what she is doing today? So I'm going to leave you at that. Think about it. What do you want to do, and what are you capable of doing is always going to find a different transformation when you work here. So on that note, thank you very much, Richa, for joining with us and sharing these insights. Thank you, and God bless you, and well, we are connected. I'm glad for that. Thank you very
Thank
much
you
for
so
joining in.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.